So I want to talk about the Black Panther phenomenon. Somebody posted something on Instagram that kind of reminded me of that. And it had to do with, are you guys familiar with coltan? Anybody?
Yes, Columbite tantalite.
That is a conflict mineral in the Congo.
Oh,
And
yeah, for cell phones. Yeah.
you would not have any of the electronics that we use without it. And
they wouldn't have them either.
They wouldn't have them either. Nothing. Nobody would have any of that. Anyway, I'm going to share some things. Anybody want to say anything before we get going, though? I know that Keedy might have to leave.
Yeah, I will have to break away and go live with my broadcast, which might not be disconnected from what you're talking about. This subject is cognitive dissonance. What's happening when we know we can do better, but we don't do better? That's cognitive dissonance.
Well, that is, yeah, it is cognitive dissonance. But I got some spiritual things to talk about too. There's this whole thing is very, I don't know. There's a lot of, what's the word, Keedy? It's very encompassing. So the Black Panther, I used to read these comic books. So this is the spiritual part. Anybody know who that is? Or everybody heard of
Credo Mutwa?
Yeah. Are you familiar with him?
Yes, he's an ancestor now.
Yeah, he is. I found out about him in about 99. And he's a Sangoma. It's a traditional healer. And he's known for his books, mixing Zulu folklore, extraterrestrial encounters, and his own personal experiences. And he's a Sanyusi. What does that sound like? Those Wose members. He's a Sanyusi. What
Sanusi from 2000 Seasons.
Yeah, but it's Sanyusi.
Yes, Isanusi, yes.
In 2000 Seasons. So that just shows, Arma was pulling from a lot of different sources to write that book. So he's a traditional healer, a traditional medicine practitioner. He was a shaman in South Africa, and he was Sangomas are able to communicate with the ancestors, work with plant medicine and herbalism, and the use of prayer for healing. I just ran across something recently, and it said that he predicted the 9/11, crashing into the Twin Towers. That was one of his predictions. He did that years before it happened. And how was he able to communicate? This is something. Are you familiar with this, Keedy? The Umbalini.
Yeah, Umbulini. I am familiar with these concepts. I haven't always been so much into esoteric. As you know, I'm a scientist by practice, but of course, as a Kemetic priest, we're also supposed to be up on all of the esoteric practices that our people engage. So don't ask me details, yet I am pretty familiar with the broad generalized category.
Yeah, so you've heard of Kundalini. Many of us have heard of Kundalini, the primal force rising up through the spine. So I just found this out within the last couple of years. Umbalini is a primal force used by Zulu shaman. They connect their minds to the spirit realm, and then he goes on to say that his grandfather taught him how to control his powers and how to sharpen them, and it deals with breath work, and he's able, He was able to raise the Kundalini. And then he started talking about this copper. Now, this is really interesting. You know, there's so many mysterious things about Africa that even all of us that have been reading about it for years and studying it. Here's Credo Mutwa's statement. He says, there's a copper city under Mount Kilimanjaro. And he talks about before human beings were created on this planet, there existed a race of people known as the Imani Ukala. And they had come from the constellation of Orion. But before they left the Earth to return to their constellation, they made a great evacuation under the Earth beneath the Missouri Mountains and the mountains of the moon, and built a copper city, put a large wall of silver around it, and the city was built at the base of a huge mountain of pure crystal. Okay, I mean, yeah, that sounds really science fiction-y, but that's kind of like what the movie is about, you know? So this is the area that he's talking about. Missouri is the source of the Nile, one of the sources of the Nile, the Missouri mountain ranges. So that's where the White Nile forms, and then in Khartoum, that's where the Blue Nile is formed, and you know they join together and flow all the way out to the Mediterranean Sea. So it's Mount Kilimanjaro. This is one of my bucket lists. I want to actually. I don't want to climb it necessarily. 26,000 feet. I'm not in as good a shape as our brother Awadu, Mr. But Baba Greg was talking. He made a presentation a long time ago, and he actually climbed up Mount Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, as his group, you know, and they had all this gear and you know, stuff to go up. He says, as his group was going up the mountain, this Maasai warrior with just that cloth, you know, and a walking stick, probably barefoot, was coming down the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or wearing sandals. Their sandals are what they generally wear. Yeah, those Maasai brothers are bad to the bone.
Yeah.
And the sisters are bad to the bone.
Yeah. And you can actually see it from outer space, Mount Kilimanjaro. And so this is like, okay, in the fantasy comic book, this is Wakanda's location.
Lake Turkana.
And when you compare them, this is, you know, I mean, it looks very similar. So they borrowed a lot from that movie. And then he said, some people came from the East. You know, they were actually Tibetan people that came, and they were looking for this mountain. They had heard about it all the way in Tibet. Yeah. There it is. They said the mountain of knowledge, the mountain from which all knowledge on earth comes, and a mountain to which all knowledge on earth ultimately returns. So this is according to the Sanyusi, the Sangoma Credo Mutwa. Oddly enough, let me just stop. Any questions? Any comments? I've presented a lot of stuff just in that. Any comments? You guys still with me?
there is this Englishman, and his name escapes me right now.
David Icke. David Icke.
David Yucky. David Yucky.
David.
Or Ike, Yucky, Ick. It's been
Yeah,
pronounced.
I thought it was I-C-K-E.
Yeah, Icke. I think most people call him Ike. I definitely call him Yucky. He plagiarized a piece of research that I published one time.
Oh, wow.
And I was kind of offended by that, but he really was kind of the person who put Credo Mutwa on the map. And because I have such a dislike and distrust of this former British intelligence agent, I couldn't help but kind of question, the credibility that he was giving to Credo Mutwa, or whether he was just using Credo Mutwa's spiritual alignment and his position, like Europeans always try and tap into our powers to give themselves credibility. And even the name Credo Mutwa, I was always very suspicious of Ike's intentions. Many people, including many British people, have shared the fact that David Yucky or Ike was a British agent, and that appears to have been confirmed. I stopped following him at a certain time, but I was just saying there was that association. And I had a couple of associates from Azania, South Africa. They were from Durban, and one of whom was a professor at Durban University and also had been a significant player as well as an official in the Pan-African Congress leading up to and through the period of the return to Black majority rule there. And they also had come to suspicious position on whether or not Credo Mutwa had earned these credentials or that he was being offered these credentials by his association affiliation with David Icke.
You know what? I've suspected that, but I've seen other sources other than David Icke, and that lead me to give more credence to his story, and all of this information that I just gave. None of it came from David Icke.
Yes.
I wouldn't present anything to our people that I knew came from David Icke.
I agree.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. But I'm glad that you said that. But any other comments or questions? Thank you.
And just to build on that, we have, of course, been so disconnected from our core culture, spirituality, language. Many of the terms and ideas that our people speak about, we almost can't even understand them because we've been locked into the colonizer's language and thus locked into his frame of reference on many places. And so there is a natural tendency for people, myself included, to be skeptical when we hear many of these things, be skeptical on both sides and do our best direct investigation. I had never met Credo Mutwa. I did meet other people, such as for like Water for Spirit, the author Malidoma Some.
Yeah, of Spirit and Water.
Of Spirit and Water. Thank you for the correction.
Of Water and Spirit. It is Water.
And it's a very, very good book. Yet there were some controversies around Malidoma Some that those of us who are Pan-African cannot ignore those controversies, such as the gender challenged community using him as a reference for them to make the claim that African societies spawned that deviant behavior, when in actuality, that is not true, but he didn't firmly correct these people because he was making money from them.
Malidoma Some is ancestor now.
Ashe.
A lot of people, I know at Wose, I'm trying to remember, and maybe Mama Ngina might remember this, or Sarita. I think he came to Wose, Oakland. Do you guys recall any of that? Malidoma?
Yes,
I
he has a
don't.
brilliant presentation. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it does. Go ahead, Zarita.
Mut Amun Rahitep, everyone.
Greetings,
Uh,
beloved.
I don't remember.
Okay. Well, I know he was in the Bay Area, and he was speaking, and a lot of people, I never had the pleasure of meeting him, but a lot of people were moved by his spirituality, his work, and that's a great work of water and spirit. It's a great work. Anything else from what we have presented? I know it sounds very science fiction-y, but I mean, okay, the story of the Black Panther is science fiction, but I thought it's very interesting, those comments. And actually Stan Lee, who was the Marvel writer, he borrowed things from African tradition to create the figure of Black Panther for Marvel that we're going to get to a little later. Anyone else? All right. Okay, hold on. Now this is very interesting that, okay, Wakanda is not necessarily, you can probably go to some place in East Africa and there's some kind of Wakanda, but this name has Sioux origins, and it means inner magical power. And I included this because this is where I'm going, sisters and brothers. This is where, I can't wait till African scientists and engineers put this together. So anyway, the meaning of Wakanda is inner magical power. And Wakanda is a supernatural force similar to mana, believed by the Sioux to pervade inanimate and inanimate objects in varying degrees, sometimes giving them extraordinary powers. There's a quote by Garvey that talks about, I see Africa with her dotted cities and her men, women, and children going to and fro. And this is a scene from the movie Wakanda. Wakanda, and usually assumed to be the cause of extraordinary things. Now, moving on, there's similarities between Wakanda and other African societies, ancient and modern, and we've seen this. We look, okay, there's Wasir, here is Amun, this is Queen Mut, there's Zoser, there's Senrose Ret, I'm not sure who this Purah is, and of course there's Ryan Coogler. So they all have those things. Here's Senrose Ret. So he was great. He was a great military commander, and I think he kind of looks. I think Senrose Ret kind of looks like Dr. Obinga. That's just me. And so here he's making the symbol. He's got the ankhs in his hand. And even in Mali, okay, this is Mentu Hotep. That's who that is. But in Mali, they're doing the same thing. The self god is called Pharaoh in the Mendi culture of Mali. That's very interesting. And they, both of these African deities represent the manifestation of God within. And when I got to Kemet, and the movie had come out just shortly, I did this, and this is inside the so-called Red Pyramid. It's at the area of Dashur. So what I was doing in some of these places that you go, you can actually feel a certain vibration. And that's what I was doing. I was getting in tune with the ancient vibratory essence that happens in these ancient structures to this day. Yeah, and inside it means, so Seneferu's pyramid means Seneferu rises, or Seneferu appears, or Seneferu shines. Had to do with energy. And there's also a lot of leopard symbolism, ancient and modern. So here is a Pur'a. It might not be a Pur'a, it might just be a noble person, and they're wearing traditional garb that people still wear in Africa today. Here, and it's usually priests that have this garb on, but this here, this picture here is Tutankhamun, and notice his headdress. We're going to get to that a little later, but this, you know, the certain people among the Maasai, this is the way they wear their hair. And okay, there is a strong South African connection to Kemet. In terms of language, certain customs, and things that they wear. So even Nelson Mandela was wearing the leopard skin. Here, you know, when you saw the movie, they had like ritualistic combat. Here, the brothers are out here doing their martial arts, probably some type of mixed martial arts. They have their leopard skin on. I want to get if anybody can tell me how to get, I've been looking, I want to get something like this, you know, so don't be surprised if you come to worship service one day, I'll have one of these. Actually, maybe I shouldn't. You have to have a certain, you know, you have to go through certain rituals in order to obtain those. And go ahead.
I was just gonna say, make sure it's summer.
Oh, really? Yeah. And here is Professor Manu. You know, Professor Manu goes all over the continent and finds a lot of information. He does primary research, and so he. I know I'm not pronouncing this name, DZ. So he went and was interviewing the DZ people, and the chief brought out his leopard skin to demonstrate his authority in the Omo Valley. And anybody know where that is, Omo Valley? No, don't say anything, Kitty. I know you know where it is. Anybody else? So this is like Ethiopia. You know, Ethiopians are not always like the ones that you see at the Queen of Sheba restaurant. You know, there's like 13 different ethnicities, ethnic groups in Ethiopia. So the leopard is always associated with the highest authority of kingship, chieftainship, eldership, the ritual leader, and all-important hero, and it's also called Jinga, Jingna in Amharic, and that's an Ethiopian language. Now I found this very interesting, that in certain places in Africa, they were called the leopard men, and they defended themselves in the Congo against the colonizers. You know, and this is where Stan Lee got the idea for the character of the Black Panther. these priests. See, they're wearing the leopard skin. Here, King Tut is riding on a Black Panther. So there's a lot to this. We don't have time. And now this is very interesting. How many have heard this? One of the epitaphs for Jesus was Yeshua Bendera Panther, Jesus, son of the Black Panther. And this, I found this because I knew I was going to talk about this today. This is a Roman standard bearer wearing the whole leopard garb. And here, this picture I got watching Astro Quasi's videos years ago. And this is a picture of Jesus. This is an ancient picture of Jesus, or Yeshua. So let me just stop there. Jesus was a Black Panther. You know what I mean? Jesus was a Black Panther. Hey, put your cameras on. Let me see some faces here. Let me see you guys. Jesus was a Black. Oh, Yusef, turn your camera off. Turn your camera off. Damani. You guys be careful out there.
Hey, I like that. He was a Black Panther.
Jesus was a Black Panther. So some of your friends that you interact with, you can tell them that Jesus was a Black Panther. You know, boy, I wish we had known that in the late 60s and 70s. Whoa, we could have talked to a lot of people, turned a lot of people out on that. All right. Any comments or questions before we proceed? Any things? I'm looking for feedback. I'm looking for a discussion. All right.
Can you hear me, Minister Imhotep?
Yes, I can, Sister Judy. Go ahead.
This is Judy. Yes, I still haven't set up my profile. So yeah, I was gonna say, Judge Clarence Thomas was a Black Panther too.
Yeah. Why did you say that? Yeah. You're right. Yeah, he was Clarence Thomas.
And recall that it was reported that at their height, as many as one of every 7 Black Panther Party members were an affiliated informant for the enemies of the party.
Yeah. I think Clarence Thomas, though, he had some other issues. I don't think he was an informant. I think he was just, well, that would be a whole nother program, wouldn't it? If we would just talk about Clarence Thomas, that would be, whoa. Although I will say that Clarence Thomas is married to a second cousin of George Bush. Did you know that? Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's how he got to be judge. You know, that's how he got to be judge. And you know, I don't have it right now. I could put my hands on it really that fast, but I have a picture, and it's a young Bill Clinton, George Wallace. I think before he would, no, he had somebody had attempted to assassinate him, and they were at like a picnic gathering in the backyard with George Bush. You know, and so when I saw that picture, and it wasn't Photoshopped, that was a picture that I've had for a number of years. That just shows that they're all in it together. You know, they're you think these are opposing sides and everything, and then you find out, oh, yeah, they're all in it together. What did you put in there, Bill? What'd you put in there, Minister? Oh, there you go. Okay, thank you.
Minister Imhotep.
Yes.
Yes, I'm driving, and I hope you can hear me. But I was going to say, I'm so glad to hear you say that because I have that discussion with several different people that it's all the same. These parties and all that stuff is just an illusion and distraction. That it's all the same people running this, this whole thing.
Yeah, yeah, we're just not privy to all the backroom deals and things that go on. So anyway,
The presidents are pre-selected.
Presidents are pre-selected. Most of them all are Masons, and there's a whole thing behind that. Not that Masonry is bad or anything like that, but it's a secret society, where they they control things that go on in this country. I mean, from the very beginning. So, yeah. All right. Anything else pertaining to Black Panthers? Go ahead, Judy. You were going to say something else?
No, I was just going to add, and people are so caught up in whether Biden or Trump and Trump this, Trump that, but there's no accident that Trump got in. So he'll be in again.
Yeah, I just made a video, and it's called Highway to Hell. And it has all these Trump pictures in it. And one of them has like Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, and James Brown, in with Donald Trump. They were Negroes for Trump in the early days, early Negroes for Trump. Right. Anyone else? All right. Let's continue. So, there is a Black Panther study guide. Some brothers at Trinity United Church in Chicago, they produced a Black Panther study guide, and just do a search on that. Black Panther study guide, and you can find it. Actually, none of the stuff that I'm doing with you tonight deals with the Black Panther study guide, but there is a Black Panther study guide. All right.
Doesn't Tony Browder has a whole presentation. I saw him in Atlanta do a presentation on Black Panther, and I think he has something on YouTube analyzing it or something, maybe.
I wouldn't doubt it. Anthony Browder is a very brilliant brother, and he covers a lot of different areas. So Ryan Coogler is the director. I understand my niece. Did you know my niece, Shango Zakia, Nancy's oldest daughter?
No.
She went to elementary school with Ryan Coogler. He went over there to St. Leo's school. Yeah. And Joe Robert Cole was the writer, and Ruth Carter, costume designer. She did a fantastic job. Actually, they all did. When this came out, this was a really great movie. And the second one too. And there was on BET, they had a Black Panther cartoon. And, it has a lot of episodes. Very well done. Now, vibranium. Somebody put this on the periodic table. Somebody made this vibranium. This is where we're getting into kind of a darker, not so good history. So in the fantasy world, scientific world, vibranium, it's found in Wakanda. It absorbs sound waves, other vibrations, including kinetic energy. It absorbs sound waves, vibrations, kinetic energy, makes the metal stronger. It was discovered by the Wakandan ancestors. to protect this resource, they conceal their country from the outside world. You have to do that. Otherwise, that's why Africa will never be lonely from the outside. They have so much abundance. And so people are always there to steal and rip off. Tashaka funded the country's education by occasionally selling off minuscule quantities of the metal. As a result, Wakanda is one of the world's most technologically advanced nations. That's in the comic book. But when we look at fiction versus practical application, kind of grew up watching Star Trek. Captain Kirk's communicator became the flip phone. Captain Picard's device, Apple made it. And and it goes. I liked when oh wow, why can't I think of his name now? He was Hawk, and he's Captain Cisco, Avery Brooks. When Avery Brooks was on Star Trek, do you know that he actually, if you watch that series to the end, he actually is the son of God. They actually end up saying, because his mother was a founder, coming out of that wormhole. But anyway, here's the device that he would use sometimes, and then that device actually came out 2013. So these things come out. So this is the sad part. Coltan, it's tin, tungsten, and tantalum. More than 80% of the world's rare mineral known as coltan is in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And to have such a valuable mineral, the Democratic Republic of Congo is one of the world's poorest countries. Coltan is a vital component in cell phone, circuit boards, and other technological products, computers, game consoles, etc. And there's a very good article. It's called "From Coltan to Vibranium: How Marvel's Black Panther Mirrors Real Life Issues in Africa Today." So they get coltan. It's a dull metal ore. It's refined. It becomes tantalum, which is heat-resistant powder that can hold a high electric charge. And it's a vital component in modern capacitors and used in almost all laptops, cell phones, and pagers. We could not be communicating right now on this Zoom without it. Now, the area where it comes from is filled with tragedy. Maybe about 20 years ago, this book came out, King Leopold's Ghosts. And King Leopold was the king of Belgium. And he killed, conservatively, 15 million Africans. We always hear about Hitler. Okay, killing anybody is bad. He killed 10 million Europeans. King Leopold killed 15 million Africans. This is a good book if you'd like to find out more about this. Also, there was a sister here in Sacramento. She had a Black bookstore. Her name was Carol. The bookstore was called Carol's Books. And I went to visit Carol one day, and she asked me, she said, "Imhotep, have you ever read this book, King Leopold's Soliloquy?" by Mark Twain? I said, no. So I ended up buying that book. And Mark Twain was so disgusted, he wrote about it, during his time. What was he talking about? Oh, let's not forget this, the Berlin and Belgian conferences. So before those conferences, this is the way the map looked. And after the conferences, this is how Africa got put in the jigsaw puzzle that it is now. And I didn't realize it lasted so long. It went from November 1884 to February 26, 1885. And this is how Africa got divided up. These men, white men, this is why they don't want us to know our history. This is why they're against wokeism. Because when you're awake, you become aware. Now, okay, that's over. But look at what's happening in Africa now. All the different corporations. Exxon, Chevron, Shell, British Petroleum.
And the Chinese companies in there.
Yeah. Yeah. So here, these are African colonies in 1884. This is today. These are just some of the corporations.
Right.
So not a lot has changed. We still have a ways to go. There's a phrase that was, it's a Kiswahili phrase that the people in Kenya had. And it goes like this: it's Umzungu, Urudi, Ulaya, Mo Africa, Aparti, Uhuru. And what that means is Europeans go back to, when the white man goes back to Europe, Africans gain independence or Africans gain freedom. And the term Mau Mau or Mau Mau was an acronym. So it's Umzungu. Umzungu is white man. Urudi, Ulaya. That's how they say Europe. Ulaya. Umzungu, Urudi, Ulaya, Mo Africa, Aparti, Uhuru. And Uhuru means independence or freedom. So when white man goes back to Europe, Africans gain independence.
That didn't happen because the French are still in there.
Yeah, the French never left, and actually a lot of them never left.
Yeah.
So Africa, motherland, it's a lot of African resources: iron ore, petroleum, crude oil, uranium, gold, aluminum, diamonds, coffee, copper. It's replete with. There's some things in here, I'm sure, that we don't even know that's there. Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop wrote this book, Black Africa, the Economic and Cultural Basis for a Federal State. And so what this book is talking about is how to make a United States of Africa. It's not very thick. I have the 895 version. I'm sure it's probably about 20, 25 now. But in that book, he says, okay, we have hydraulic energy, we have solar energy, we have atomic energy, we have thermonuclear energy, we have wind energy, thermal energy of the sea, tidal energy, global heat, volcanic thermal energy, geothermal energy. We don't need anybody. And you know, I used to clown, like sometimes you see Africans and they got all these, they have all this gold around them, but at least it's theirs. They didn't go to another country and steal it. You know, it comes from their own land. Now, getting back to the Congo, it's filled with atrocities. So back in the late 1800s, they would cut people's hands off if they didn't collect enough rubber. And then they use us against each other. Here's some Africans here, you know, whipping other Africans. Here's a father looking at the severed hands of his daughter. This is in the book, King Leopold's Ghost. And then they discovered copper, and the same thing would happen if they didn't collect enough copper. How many know the story about Patrice Lumumba? Let me stop there. Yeah. Anybody else? Thank you, Minister Shango. Anybody else familiar with Patrice Lumumba?
Me.
Go ahead, Keisha. You want to say something about that? Want to weigh in?
I don't know what you want me to say. You're telling the story very well, but he was a Pan-Africanist, and he was a contemporary of Nkrumah and a lot of the brothers, and understood all you're talking about with the atrocities of Belgium in their country, but also the collusion of other countries and other European countries and corporations. He taught well. Apparently, he was a good speaker. He was also speaking the truth, and he had a whole range of people who bought in the Congo, who bought into his idea of self-governing, of Kujichagulia.
Yes.
And as is often the case, the European knows how to find the weak link and turns that weak link into an army against us. And that's what happened. And they unceremoniously took his life, and the papers on which he had written so much of the freedom papers were forced in his mouth as a gesture of disrespect. Of course, he has earned the respect of Pan-Africanists and revolutionists and those of us who value freedom. So he earned his respect, and they earned the disrespect. But you were telling the story very well, so that's all I can say.
No, that's excellent. No, thank you. I love that you added that. Anyone else?
Yes.
Go ahead, Zarina.
Patrice Lumumba, Asar Patrice Lumumba was very beloved in my family. I remember my parents talking about him with such love. He was just beloved. And to me, I make a connection with him with Asar. With Asar, the way from what I've learned is that they took him, they murdered him. And what they did to cut his body up.
Yes.
And recently, there was one portion of his body that Belgium returned
Right.
his family.
I think it was his head.
Was it that large? I think it was a tooth.
Really, I've heard so many different stories. You know, he was plowed under someplace. They really dismembered him.
Yeah.
And you're right, connecting with was him with Wasir or Osar or Osiris, because he was cut up into many pieces. So
And
go ahead.
the it is horrible. I don't have words in English to say, but it shows the power of a people to make, for someone to fear us that much, to it's his is one of the most incredible stories. And then the set would be Mobutu.
Yeah.
But he's worse than Set could ever be, because Set had some grounds, and at least in the what our ancestors have told us in the sacred writings through the Shema, Set and Heru did come back together, and it's symbolic with the unity now called the Shema, and which ties around I believe it's a symbol, the windpipe. But Mobutu was a trusted aide to Patrice Lumumba.
Yeah. I'm so glad. Yeah, I'm glad I opened it up, because you all are bringing out some points that I might not have been able to utter. Thank you. Anyone else? Is Manyika there? He has the last name of Lumumba. Is he there, Aisata?
He is.
You went on mute.
Yeah, he is. I'll see what he has to say. He's just getting off the phone.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? I guess maybe this is too dreary. Should I change it up a little bit? It's I know it's all hard to hear. You know, it's but this is all part of our, as the Rastas would say, our I story. You know, not his story, but our I story, our I story. Yeah. So getting back, Patrice Lumumba. Go ahead, Sister Kitchen. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, in response to your saying it's dreary and how tough it is to play this, but you know, we get hit in the head over and over and over and over about 10 million people, 10 million Jews, 10 million over, and that story is told so many times, we all know it. But I don't know how many times we actually tell our people that 15 million plus those that were maimed and damaged physically and damaged emotionally by that I don't have any words for what Leopold was, because I don't know. Yeah,
Demon.
A demon. Yeah, but I mean, as dreary and as sad as it is, our people need to know, when they're telling us about 10 million, we need to be telling them about 15 plus million. And so, yeah, it's dreary, and yeah, we hate to hear it, but we need to hear it.
Yeah. So he was overthrown. Go ahead, Manyika.
Oh, good evening, Africans. How we doing?
Good. I ain't no African. No, I'm just kidding.
No, Lord have mercy. I'm gonna pray for you, brother. Oh no, I appreciate the being able to make a little shout out here. My name is Muniga Lumumba, and Lumumba was the name that was bestowed upon me when I went through my naming ceremony. There were a group of students at the University of California, Berkeley, that we traveled with, and we did political work and educational work. And having an English name at the time, they pointed out the contradiction. They said, how can you spend so much energy, time, and so passionately talking about and defending Africa, and you have the name of a white man? So I said, well, you know, I can't deny y'all's criticism. Would y'all please help me? And they asked, "Oh, well, what can we do?" I said, "You select a name for me that suits and fits what you understand my personality and character to be." And so they gave me the name Muniga, and we took the name Lumumba because of the inspiration that I gained from the understanding and knowing about the story, not just of our dear Patrice Lumumba, but of the Congo people, the people of Africa in general, and our resiliency. There's so many stories. I know we talk about I hear in passing there was issue of doom and gloom. We have great stories of cataclysmic confrontation with our enemies, and we in the Bible says we smote them. Yeah, and we did some smoting as well. So we weren't just on the receiving end of being oppressed and getting beat. We handed out some lickings as well. And one real quick statement just to kind of back up using history as a foundation. One of the conversations now that are being bandied about the world internationally is Hamas. And Hamas is so evil and so cruel. Hamas is killing Zionist babies and whatnot. And I had in the conversation that they had to hearken to tell one of our brothers said, and he was mouthing the same criticism. And he said, well, they killed children. And we had to point things out historically. Said, Nat Turner killed children, and he killed so-called settlers. Denmark, and Toussaint, Dessalines. And there was a point that was made that said, when you are crushed down every morning of your life until you can only see and understand that each new day is going to bring you more and further pain, then the folks who deliver that pain in your life to you have to bear the brunt of any maltreatment that occurs to them, so that the settlers were not, or the settlers in this issue between the Palestinians and the Zionist pigs calling themselves.
Maniga,
Yes.
you have so much knowledge on so many issues. I just wanted the reason why I asked Asata to bring you forward, if you could just add just a couple of things about Lumumba. Sister Keisha had said something about Patrice Lumumba and Sister Zarita, and I know that you know different things about him. If you could just say one or two things on that.
The emphasis on organizing the masses to defeat the Belgium and the capitalists from Europe.
Mm-hmm.
He emphasized independence and the recognition that African people, we were all united, or we should all be united in this fight against imperialism.
All right, man. Thank you. Thank you.
You're quite welcome, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, brother. All right. Anyone else? We're going to move on. So here you can see his own people are through the inspiration of the CIA and the colonial powers. There's a book. It's called Cobalt Red. It's written by Siddharth Kara, and it talks about what's going on in the Congo today. It hasn't stopped. Let me just show you some pictures. I found this. Do you know smartphones will not work without this African mineral, coltan? Look it up, coltan. And I'm sure this isn't in front of an Apple store, but somebody superimposed this picture. They have children in the mines. These are our people. We're doing it to each other. Hold on, somebody put something in the chat. Let's see. Hopefully it's not. Let's see. A 2022 says gold cap tooth was returned to the family on June 20th. The rest of the body was supposedly dissolved in acid. Yeah, they really wanted to kill him, you know. They totally obliterated him. And here the people are slaving in the mines right now. Children are used. Soldiers maintain the work. Some of these are people from Rwanda. It's a conflict mineral. It's dull. Metallic ore found in the Congo. When refined, it becomes tantalum, heat-resistant power that can hold a high electric charge. It's a vital component in modern capacitors and is used in almost all laptops, cell phones, and pagers. Coltan. And here, I found this today. This is the trade. You know, it's found in the Congo, and from the mines, it goes to trading towns onto major cities. And then Congolese coltan leaves Africa through ports in Kenya and Tanzania. And from there, it travels to East Asia to be refined before it ends up in electronic devices. And here, Intel, Nintendo, Apple, Hewlett Packard, Sony, Nokia. T'Challa, the Black Panther. Okay, leaving that. They also talk about Bass or Bassett. And, you know, that was a Kemetic Neteru too. And here, I found this one day. Here's Sekhmet or Bassett, you know, as a Madonna with child. It represented a netter of the home, domesticity, woman's secrets, cats, fertility, childbirth. She protected the home from evil spirits and disease, especially diseases associated with women and children. I had a friend, well, me and a friend, we always go for a walk on the first Wednesday of the month, and we were talking, and you know, a lot of Black people don't like cats, but oddly enough, my father really liked cats, and so we had a couple of cats when I was growing up. We always had a cat, but I want to emphasize, my mother would not let the cat sleep in the house when we went to sleep. We put the cat out. And then when everybody came back home, then the cat came in. But it was she was considered a daughter of Ra. So they used a lot of African symbols here, and also Sekhmet. You know, I took this picture of Sekhmet, and this statue, her temple is at a place in ancient Wose. And sometimes the pictures wouldn't come out right. It's very interesting about her shrine. And here's a representation of her. Again, Sekhmet. So here's some real Black Panthers. Panthers are cool. Now, There's a movie. It's called King Solomon's Mine. It was made in 1951. Deborah Carr, Stuart Granger, and this other guy, and these people, that these Messiahs are in this movie. And what ends up happening is, okay, they're looking for King Solomon's Mine, and they run across this brother, and he says, oh, you know, I know where you're going. I can take you there. And they don't realize that he's actually the king, and he's come back to take his throne, back from usurpers. And here's the guy that's sitting on the throne. And this is that helmet I was telling you about. See, people actually wear their hair. This is a picture that Shake Out the Joke gave us. People actually wear their hair like this. And here's this brother. And so when he gets ready to fight the king, he takes off his robe, and he has these tattoos, which is representative of his royalty. Keloid. And in the movie Black Panther, Killmonger reveals his royal markings. A lot of similarities in that movie of real. And then there's this other movie. It's called The Cradle of the World. Digimon Hansa and Angelina Jolie. And they go and they meet the elders at the cradle of the world. They escort Angelina Jolie to the cradle of civilization. And by the way, it's under Mount Kilimanjaro. Somebody knows something. Well, let's get back. We'll let you guys look at that for just a second. I'm gonna turn the light on here. Let's get back to something solid, reality. Black Panther 10-point program. This is why they had to die. This is why they had to be infiltrated, because this is what they wanted for our people. We want freedom. We want power to determine the destiny of our Black community. We want full employment for our people. We want an end to the robbery of the white man of our Black community. We want decent housing, fit for shelter of human beings. We want education for our people that exposes the true nature of the decadent American society. Can't have that. We want education that teaches us our true history and our role in present day society. This is beginning of Black studies. Here, their number 5 program is how Black studies, or one of the avenues for which Black studies was created in colleges. We want all Black men to be exempt from military service. This was during the time of the Vietnam War. We want an immediate end to police brutality and murder of Black people. We want freedom for all men held in federal, state, county, and city prisons and jails. This is something that Angela Davis is working on right now. Angela Davis has been in the news a lot. I don't know if you've noticed. She's been on Democracy Now. She was offered I forget the name of the award, but it was in Birmingham, Alabama. But because she spoke out about what's going on with the Palestinians, they revoked her award, and then they I guess they were embarrassed because a lot of people found out, and then now they're trying to give it back to her. So she's been on a tour, a speaking tour speaking about what's going on in the so-called Middle East. We want all Black people, when brought to trial, to be tried in court by a jury of their peer group or people from their Black communities as defined by the Constitution of the United States. We want land, bread, housing, education, clothing, justice, and peace. And as our major political objective, a United Nations supervised plebiscite to be held throughout the Black community, in which all Black colonial subjects will be allowed to participate for the purpose of determining the will of Black people as to their national destiny. So this was written in 1966. So, you know, in the not the final call, the Muhammad Speaks, you know, in the back of the newspaper would say what the Muslims want, what the Muslims believe. In the Black Panther newspaper, the Black Panther Party, on the back of their paper, it said, what we want, what we believe. And when you look at T'Challa and Huey, they're striking the same pose. And it gives, so there's a cartoon I mentioned. There's a Black Panther cartoon that used to come on BET. And I'm sure if you went to YouTube, you can find those episodes, or just do a search for it if you wanted to see it. This is a really beautiful scene. You know, when he goes, he takes some plant that would cause him to have visions. And here he's able to commune with the ancestors, and there's his father. And these are the main characters. I can't name them all. Perhaps you can. Angela Bassett. This brother's in a lot of things. He's really good. Actually, all of these actors and actresses are great. Let's see, somebody said something here. All right, thank you, Bill. Bill put the Black Panther program in the chat if you wanted to get that. Thank you so much, Minister Bill.
Minister Imhotep.
Yes.
Yeah, if I may interrupt again, I was going to say my one of my best friends, Scott Wardell, his mother played the part of the elder woman, the Queen Mother.
Oh, really?
Her name is Dorothy Still. Yes. She started acting in '89. And she was in the second one in a brief scene. If any of you remember the elder.
I do.
Mother.
Yeah, I don't have her.
She was on Steve Harvey. Yeah, Dorothy Still. She was on Steve Harvey's talk show when it came out, but she recently passed. It's been about 2 years now.
I want to close. Thank you, Sister Judy. I want to close with the words of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. He says, "I have a vision of the future, and I see before me a picture of a redeemed Africa, with her dotted cities and her beautiful civilization, with her millions of happy children going to and fro. Why should I lose hope? Why should I give up and take a back place in this age of progress? Remember, you are men," I want to add women, "that God created you lords of this creation. Lift yourselves up. Men, take yourselves out of the mire and hit your hopes to the stars. Yes, rise as high as the very stars themselves. Let no man pull you down. Let no man destroy your ambition, because man is but your companion, your equal. Man is your brother. He is not your Lord. He is not your sovereign master." And this is Botswana today. This is Nairobi, Kenya today. Ethiopian skyline.
Mhm.
Abuja in Nigeria.
Mhm.
Durban, South Africa. It's kind of pixelated. Sorry about that. So thank you for staying with us. Black Panther phenomenon.